Welcome to the scary show. To the scary show. To the scary show.
Welcome to the scary show.
The rain fell in a soft wall, droplets forming almost a mist around me. Droplets as cold as ice. The smell was thick and heavy of the rain, a contrast to its actual size and shape. Every couple of minutes it got heavier. The wind got harder, whipping trees and branches, leaves and dirt around. It howled like a birthing dog as rain poured down around my slowly soaking form. The clouds grew dark, thick and heavy, ill like a cigar smoker's wheeze. Like ink in milk, they grew shape, and the world felt sick. The wind and rain washing over me like a disease. My shirt was damp with icy tears clinging to my chest as I watched the dark forms of clouds roll over the sickly sky. I noticed my breath spill across the landscape like ginseng ink on wet paper, chilled by the air and visible like smoke. And the world hung like a momentumless pendulum, and I stood still too, in anticipation. Forms, visages of terror, waltzed across the blackened sky. Paintings of horror, demons of realms beyond, moved against the wall of clouds and thick droplets of rain. Their roars washed with the wind, and it felt my scream in the back of my throat as I sung with these terrible beings, born of the storm and carried by its crashing waves of wind, creatures of branches and water, of the shadows behind the clouds and between the multitude of stars. They fell upon the earth and walked among the streets, footsteps echoing as I watched, tears streaming down my cheeks, their footprints embedded into the asphalt as they cried in anguish. Rivers formed in the gutters as they ripped houses off their foundations, knocked skyscrapers down with a swat, and bellowed their terrible calls into the night. I watched as they struck upon the world. From the streets past my apartment, I watched as fires burst to life, then shuddered to their death in the now hailing storm. Buildings crumbled and their debris carried like a haunting vigil in the wind. One of the beings turned to me, and if he had eyes, they would have been looking into my soul. And maybe he was, anyway. I felt him, like I felt the rain. I felt his judgment. Like ballerinas, they were swept away by their cruel curtain call. The clouds rolled forward, and the rain and wind silenced, and the beings washed away carried back to wherever the storm had found them. I watched as the world crumbled and was washed away, washed clean by the storm.
Tonight's scary was called The Storm, written by the Reddit user NeverLearnedToWeep. If you enjoy the stories you find here, click the like button. Think of it as applause at the end of a performance. If you haven't already, subscribe and click the bell for all notifications. It's the top icon. Share this story with everyone you can so that others may discover the scary show. Questions, comments, suggestions? Leave them down below. The Scary Show always answers the fans. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week with a brand new episode of The Scary Show.